Hey, girlfriend, you know who you are. You have big, big dreams. You want to write a book, stand on a TED Talk stage, be a life coach offering wisdom from your RV in Montana, a cafe in Barcelona, or a beach chair in Tulum. Your other girlfriends and your family, they don't always get your biz savvy. Why do you want to leave your JOB? Because you're a C.A.T.S, aka coach, author, thought leader, and speaker. Meet other change makers like yourself and find out how they make it happen. This is the Big Meow podcast.
Hello, cats. It's Kristen, and I'm here with Jane Ferré. Hi, Jane.
Hi, Kristen. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's so exciting to be here.
I know, I'm so excited. So, I was reviewing your information, redundancy. Oh my God, like that word just sounds like the kiss of death. Talk to me about redundancy.
So redundancy, or getting laid off, as people in the US might know it, is something that I'm very familiar with. So I've worked in HR for kind of 15 odd years, and I have exited a lot of people, four figures of people from the business I was
Sounds like
working
hospice for your career.
Well, it certainly kept me employed for a while, but I knew that at some point, that was going to come to me, and that is actually what happened in the end. So I was prepared for it, because I just knew that actually, I think I'm kind of at that age where I'm just into my late 40s, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be that bitter 50-something-year-old woman in the corner who should have left 5 years ago. So it's like, okay, I'm going to go now. So I left. I got headhunted for a job in a completely different kind of organization that was in food. So that's my passion, in training. So I took that role. And then 8 months later, that role too was made redundant. So within the space of 12 months, I've had 2 redundancies in 1 year. So it was just like, okay, I'm not going to work for any more idiots. I am going to set up my own business. So it was kind of this itch that I had to scratch, and I thought, right, now is the time to do it. So if not now, then when? And what's the worst thing that can happen, right?
I know, it's kind of like those messages from the universe, right? Like that lightning bolt comes down and like hits you, and then lo and behold, you're struck again. So I guess we need to pay attention. So, do you think that we need to be fired to go out on our own path and become entrepreneurs? Being somebody in HR, listening to people in their exit interviews, what's one of the things that you've heard a lot?
So I think what I hear, it maybe not at the time, but certainly after the time, is it was the push I needed. And that's certainly true for me. It was the push that I needed. And certainly the payment that went with it was a nice cushion for me. So it helped to soften the blow and helped me to take some risks as well. So it's like, it's not like I can't feed my family if I don't get a job or the business fails. I've got this cushion of money here that I can use to just for me, it actually just gave me some time to really think about, what do I want to do next? So that was very useful for me. Yeah.
So you kind of want to maneuver it a little bit so you don't have to quit. So you get fired. So you get like a little payday with that.
Yeah. We used to joke
strategy
at the organization that I worked for a long time. It was almost like nobody leaves this business without a payout. It was almost like, and in HR, I've
like your corporate is like, who wants a payout? And you're all like, hello.
It was very much, let's, go down the voluntary route. So the people that want to leave, let's
decision.
Yeah, it's like, but just throw money at them to go. And so it's so I knew what the conversations were behind the scenes, certainly when it came to redundancy. So I did play the system a little bit, because I knew the rules of the game.
You knew how.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's it like being an entrepreneur?
It has been the learning curve has been like that. Like it's almost vertical. There is no kind of like slow thing up. It's just like, wow. And that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed. I kind of love and hate about being an entrepreneur. It's that kind of like, I know nothing, and then you start to learn, and it's that kind of putting yourself out there to start learning that puts you in the path of some incredible people that I would never have met if I was still in corporate land in my 9-to-5 job. And I just think that has just given me a bit of a spark kind of in, you know, the latter part of my in my career journey, really. And I think that's incredible. You know, it's just really given me a bit of a shove. Yeah.
It definitely reactivates that menopause brain.
And I have that.
Wait, who am I? Hold on.
I've got my patch right here.
So what do you have a philosophy for other entrepreneurs who maybe have just been declared redundant?
Yeah, I think it's really taking the time, if you can, to think about what is your gift, what's your zone of genius, what are you brilliant at? Like, it's almost like, what is the thing that you bring to the world, and just really zoning in on that. So that's one of the things that I've kind of learned quite early on. I met somebody that really helped me with this, because I was like, I've had, you know, 20 years in corporate HR. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. It's like, choose one thing to sell to one person at one time. And that's the thing that I really focus on now. And when I go out kind of networking, you know, I've heard people go, oh, well, I do this and I do this. And, oh, I'm a yoga teacher and I'm like, well, what are you? Because you're like 4 different things.
I'm so confused.
So
you
it's
know
like,
what? I have a name for that. I call that the curse of the competent. It's like, you're really good at like a lot of different things. You're like, well, I'm so good at so many different things. I could do all these things, but
oh my
you know,
God,
it's a curse because no one wants to work with somebody who's the gypsy caravan, you know, pulling out all the scarves out of their little traveling wagon.
It's so true. And actually, if you are the go-to person in your field, you can charge more.
Right.
Because you know, it's not like, well, I can kind of do everything. It's like, if you are the go-to person in, you know, right now, one of my things, my business is around career coaching, outplacement coaching. So I've kind of almost gone full circle with the redundancy thing.
But back in that same conversation.
Yeah, I'm back in that conversation. And I've got the gravitas because I've been through it. I know what people are going through, and I've been in the job market, because a lot of career coaches haven't been in the job market for forever. So it's a nice kind of double-edged thing for me. Yeah, for sure.
You know, I heard that if you're in the career market now, that actually it helps to cut off like the bottom of your resume. You know how like people have their resume and it goes all the way back to, you know, what you did in high school, like that you were that cheerleader and all this other crazy stuff. And you're like, you know, we don't really need your 6-page resume. That kind of hurts you. So like, if you didn't want to be an entrepreneur and you were going to put yourself out there, you know, it's good to shorten your resume.
Yeah. I mean, what I say to my clients is actually create, and I call it the kitchen sink. So it's like, it's everything but the kitchen sink, right? It's your kitchen sink resume, and you put every single thing on there, but that is for your benefit, right?
It's like that letter you write to your ex that you're not supposed to send.
It's like, never send that out to anybody.
Don't send that. Or worse yet, some people send it to their ex's new partner or their parents or something else.
Go like, this is it. I mean,
keep that at home.
keep that as like more of an age memoir. And then
reminds you like you've worked hard in your life.
Yeah. But actually then pull out the relevant stuff. So a great example is when I got headhunted I was for a head of training job. All of my training experience was like 10 years back on my CV. It was almost falling off my CV.
Right.
And hanging
on the cliff.
It was, yeah. And I was like, well, this isn't going to sell me for this head of training job. So I created what I call a functional CV. So rather than putting your experience in kind of date order, actually put it by competency. So, you know, project management, leadership development, whatever. So that's a great way to, especially if you've kind of ended up down a career when you're thinking like, oh, I'm kind of down this way and I want to kind of turn back. That's a great way to position yourself there using what I call a functional CV.
I think even as an entrepreneur, it's a good skill. You know, I talk about this with my clients when they're trying to figure out, you know, what kind of niche do I want to go into? Yeah. And it's not just that date resume. I call it the reality resume. It's like, well, what's all the other things that you've done, you know, that you've learned along the way? Because a lot of times the clue to your fingerprint expertise is in the intersection of your real life experiences and some of the training that you've had not just in a classroom or, one of those things, but the real life things that you've learned as well.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And I think it's almost like people are afraid, and it's very similar to when people are getting jobs and when people are kind of setting up on their own, because a lot of people I deal with are kind of at that point, which is like, well, should I do this as well? And it's the same thing, whether you're looking for a job or setting up a business, it's that kind of, what's the one thing that you want to be known for? Because you can charge more for it. So you're a project manager and a HR person and a this and a that. And it's like, again, it's the curse of the competent, right? So it's just,
I know you're adopting that.
I've written it down. It's on the piece of paper. So that is going to be there.
So what is your philosophy, Jane? Do you have a philosophy that carries you forward?
Yeah, it's really that, figuring out what it is that you're good at, because if you can really lean into your strengths and have the opportunity to do what you do best every single day, your work and your life is going to be so much easier, more fulfilled, full of joy than if you're trying to be good at something that's not your natural strength. It's just really kind of, and I help people to really focus on what that is.
It's definitely not sustainable. I mean, if you just hate something, like it's so hard.
Yeah.
And then if you're just in the flow, you're like, wow, this is kind of fun. It doesn't really feel like work. And I think that is the most important point to get to, and just your own self-awareness is what do you absolutely love, even if you don't even believe that could be your career. There's a clue there. Okay. I feel like there's a little clue there. Your intuition is saying, just take a few steps in this direction, and maybe some synchronicities will show up that will show you that actually this could be your career.
Yeah. And that helps as well when you start to, if you do step into the entrepreneurial journey and you start to work with different clients. And I've done a client audit in the past. I was working with a coach, and we kind of went through, and it was the sign is that, if they called you on the phone, what's the reaction? Is it like, oh God? Or are you thinking like, oh, cool, Kristen's called me. It's like, what's the reaction? Yeah, it's like, and do people pay you on time? Are they bad payers? Are they good payers? It's like, do they try and get more than you're off? The sort of scope creep of what you've agreed to do with them. Do they respect your time and your boundaries? And it's like, audit your clients as well, and that will tell you a lot about where you think I love it, where your place is. Yeah,
we hate scope creep. That's the worst. We're gonna run out of time, but I just have to tell you a story. So I had this is a coaching nightmare. So I had a coaching client, and I was like, it's okay if you text me. And I counted, it was getting up there, and I was like, these just seem like a lot of text. And then I counted, and it was like 382 texts in a month.
That's more than one a day. That's more than 10 a day.
I know. I'm like, I think I have to fire you.
I don't even
text my husband that much. There is a real thing in coaching with scope creep that if you're not careful, and I know better, but then sometimes it creeps up on you.
It does. And
all about those boundaries.
I use Voxer, and I say to my clients, it's, you contact me through Voxer between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. And you can send me something outside those hours, but you will not get a response. And people respect that. But the thing is, I have to respect that as well, because if I don't, then that gives a signal later.
You'll need a burner phone. You'll need another phone.
I love that.
All right, Jane. Well, where can we find you?
So LinkedIn is my social media platform of choice. So please do feel free to connect with me. I connect with everyone. Or my website, which is just my name. It's janeferré.com.
You're going to have to spell Ferré because it's very elegant.
It's very Francais. So it's F-E-R-R-E. So it's Jane with no Y. That's the question I always get asked. So it's JANEFERRE.com. That's it.
Okay. Now we can find it. Thank you so much for being on the Big Meow.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Big Meow podcast, sponsored by C.A.T.S Network. If you liked what you heard, please take a moment to subscribe and share this podcast with your friends. You can also join our network filled with positivity and possibility. Visit www.catsnetworking.com to join us and learn more. together with your magical, motivated, and mystical new friends at C.A.T.S Network. Let's transform 1 million lives with your message. Are you feeling isolated sitting at home in your PJs? Or perhaps you're tired of the comfy sweatpants with holes in them that are hidden just below the camera? I mean, you could puke at the thought of another day of Zoom meetings and reporting to your BOSS. Do you want freedom from your home office desk or the office cubicle? Do you want freedom from your current career? Or are you frustrated that your online biz dreams are going nowhere? It's all too overwhelming. Where do you start? All the tech, the choices, and your message. Yep, I said your message, your brand, your voice. What is it? Do you even know what that means? Do you need a biz coach but don't want to invest the big bucks? Let's face it, being a solopreneur is lonely, but you don't have to do it alone. And here's a solution. Join C.A.T.S Network. C.A.T.S Network is a woman-only membership community exclusively available to you, the life coach or executive coach, the author, the thought leader, or the public speaker. If you identify with this list or want to work on adding some of these to your skill set, C.A.T.S is the place for you. Check us out at www.catsnetworking.com. That's C.A.T.S networking.com. Because let's face it, cats are better together.